Episode 178. Are these comics going to make good film and television shows? We have Moon Knight and we have Jonny Quest. Let's talk about them right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zanca. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, let's just jump right into Moon Knight. So this is by Jed MacKay, and as far as I'm concerned, it's the only title that he's writing well. Because he's also writing X-Men, which I have already dropped. And he's also writing Avengers, of which I'm on the verge of dropping. He just doesn't get it. I'm not sure why, because this is basically also a team title, but yet the other teams, he doesn't know how to handle them. So I'm not sure what's going on. So this is number 2 because it's a reboot of a reboot of a reboot. Where he's just come back from the dead, because he was only dead for like 5 minutes. He's like, oh, okay, I'm back. They should have left him dead for a while. I would have been all right with Tigra just teaming up with Hunter's Moon and all that other stuff, and just leaving Mark dead for a while. This way, his comeback would have been better, you know? Leave him dead for at least 6 or 7, even maybe 12 issues. And there's so much more that you can do with this than what he does. So we're going to jump right into Tony Stark. And he's hanging out with Tony Stark because there's a drug on the market, which is what I like about this is Moon Knight is a street-level character. We're not trying to do anything supernatural with him, even though he has supernatural things. He's like a Daredevil. He's like a Batman. And it's where he shines, you know? So the fact that we have him dealing with a supernatural drug, it's like a pixie drug or something to that effect, people get hooked very quickly on it, and he is trying to stop the supply. Plus the people that are hooked on it, he's also trying to find an antigen so he can literally get them off cold turkey without them, coming and committing suicide or whatever may be the repercussions of what this could be. So he's talking to Tony Stark about possibly coming up with things. And he's like, look, I'm not a chemist. I'm an engineer. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not an engineer. That's basically what he says. So he's like, well, you're going to have to go after some other, one of the other Avengers, namely Hank Pym. And he says, well, Hank Pym's dead. He's like, not really. So we get some really nice artwork in here by Capuccio, and he's literally chasing a car, and there's a guy in the back with a mask on, and like, he's not after me, guys, he's after you. But we find out why in a second, and again, the artwork is he's literally stands in front of the car, that kind of deal. And 8-Ball, who was originally a villain, I guess uses a pool cue on it, and I guess it's a super pool cue, and it knocks the whole car over Moon Knight. So I thought that was pretty cool, but that's silly, very, very silly to have a pool cue. That is super. And they're doing a TVA comic? Come on, man. Let that thing die. Let it die. So then we get him facing off with the villain. The villain's like, I'm over here. Don't let me go here. I wasn't in the car. And he takes his coat off and the mask off, and he's got a mask underneath it. He's called a cubist because, of course, that is a style of painting. So he looks like a living painting. Somebody was on some major drugs when they made that up. He's like, yeah, I'll make him like a painting. He's like a Picasso. Whatever. So we have a fight scene that happens. Always good to see a fight scene in action, actually in a comic book nowadays, instead of them all just talking and saying, hello, I'd like to have a cup of coffee. So he's, I like that page quite a bit, actually. And then we jump back over here. So he escapes or whatever. And we have Greer, which is Tigra, who is still having a relationship with him. I miss having her son there. I thought that was a very interesting dynamic. And then we have two vampires there. We have Soldier and Reese. And Reese is the girl right there. And they're talking about shutting it down and what happens to the people. Basically everything I just said, that they're going to have to wane these people off it with some kind of an antigen. And he says, look, I have to tell you something because I've been looking around for somebody who is a chemist that can help me, create this antigen. But I have to tell you something. You thought your father was dead, but he's not. Hank Pym is alive. So I didn't realize Hank Pym was her dad. And then we got a really nice scene at the end there. That's a nice splash page. So yeah, really, really good stuff. I'm liking that a lot. I think this is one of the better arcs so far. So, and I'm a huge Tigra fan, which is also weird because they're doing West Coast Avengers, and that's where she was from, and she's not in it this time, of course, because she's in Moon Knight. But yeah, I like them keeping it street and everything like that as well. So good for them. Good for Jed McKay to finally write something good that's kind of keeping my interest. And would this make a good... Well, remember, the TV show was horrible. Horrible, guys. Horrible. How do you screw up Moon Knight? It's boring. How do you make Moon Knight boring? So I'm really hoping if they're going to do a season 2 or whatever, they kind of make it more comic booky than whatever that was. I don't even know what that was. All right. But in case you thought I forgot, I didn't forget. I'm going to plug my own comics in the middle now instead of in the beginning, so people aren't turned off right when they jump onto it. So yeah, so this is Lords of L.A. This is my vampire mob set in 1950s Hollywood. In fact, I'm going to do an update real quick because I just put out another batch of comics because we got another... so the batch for this one already went out. I do have some more left if you'd like one. This is, again, my vampire mob set in 1950s with Marilyn Monroe. And this is about Lena Morgan, who is a vampire now, but she wasn't originally. She was turned by some really nasty mobster bosses, and now she has come back 60 years later for vengeance. So, yeah, after amassing, things. So this is the first cover, and that's the main cover. And this is issue number 1, and I do sign them as well. And then these two just went out to my donors this week. Today, I just put them in the mail today. So we have the Helene cover, and then we have the Lena Samurai cover. So there's that. If you'd like a copy, again, put it in the comment section below. And then Green Hornet, I want to get to 100 followers. We put the pre-launch for the Kickstarter up a couple of days ago or 3 days ago, and we're almost up to 100 people now. I'd like to break 100. So this is by Timothy Zahn, who created Thrawn, and Kevin J. Anderson, who did Dune, Brandon Easton, who did Peggy Carter for Marvel. Just a whole bunch of people. The cover art is by Matt Wagner, who did Batman and Grendel. But anyway, just click the link in the description below, and you'll be able to sign up for when we launch in January. And also, you can also buy me a cup of coffee back there. All right, so is it better that I do in the middle? I think everybody else does their stuff in the middle. All right, so let's jump into Jonny Quest. This is the penultimate issue by Joe Casey. I was a big fan of the original cartoon back in the 80s with Race Bannon. And, of course, you had Johnny and Haji and Bandit the dog. And then the Professor Benton Quest as well. So I don't really remember a Jade character in there with her mom or grandmom or whatever. But adding Jade to this was an interesting idea. So this is about them going back in time or forward in time from the past. And now they're in their future where they end up with an older version of Johnny, who was wearing the same clothes too. It was the weirdest thing. I guess they wanted to show them matching. But he's like in his 70s or whatever. And, he goes to see Haji, and Haji basically fights him. It was weird. But they're trying to find the elements they need to go back home but Professor Zinn is after them. And it does finally answer the question, or ask the question, how is he still alive? We didn't really get an answer yet. But there's the old Jonny Quest. So in the last issue, we had some really good action. I actually really liked the last issue the best. And then Jade comes up and helps them while they're getting captured by Ninja. This happened to be Ninja in the middle of the city, which is weird, but at least we got some good action out of it. But anyway, they all get captured. Now they're trying to figure out how to get him back. So he's like, look, he has the same DNA as I do, the same genetic signature that I do. So if I upload my genetic signature into the computer, I can then locate them. So it's interesting. But I guess it's also painful because it's pulling out portions of his DNA. So he gets a little zap there. And he's like, yeah, we can find them. So meanwhile, then we get to where they're being held on this big spaceship, or like a shield helicarrier kind of thing. And they're all talking about Jade's grandmother, and he's like, well, how the hell do you know my grandmother? That's the weirdest thing, guys. You need to get off the grandmother. Stop on my grandma, okay? But they're like, we're going to have to get out of here somehow. And there's Professor Zinn, and he's like a hologram. He's not really there. So I'm thinking that he's just AI. He doesn't even exist, except in the thing. That's what I'm thinking. We have Bandit there. They're in the plane trying, and he's of course flying in a plane that's beyond his normal technological of what he had back in the 60s or early 70s. So he's like, oh my God, this ride's like the dream. But anyway, so we get them trying to escape the thing, and now they're getting confronted by guards, and they don't realize this, but the guards are actually androids. But anyway, they send the helicarrier, I'm just going to call it the helicarrier, sends a whole bunch of drones after them and kind of forces them to land. And they land without even a runway, or I don't know if it vertically lands, but what's going to keep that thing from falling off? And I don't know, it's kind of weird. Well, it's literally on a flying thing, but with nothing holding it there. That's kind of weird. But anyway, they end up fighting the guys, and that's where we find out that it's an android. Oh no, we have androids! Run, they're shooting at us! And they're going to shoot back. That's my Mickey Mouse shooting voice. Oh no, what's going on there? Or is it Mr. Bill? I can't tell. But now they get, I don't even know how they got in the hatch. Doesn't even show they got in the hatch. So there's some holes here that kind of need fixing, but I guess it's a comic book. But if it ever gets made into a film, they need to fix that because nobody's going to buy it. But anyway, so we have him. He's like, I'm going to go with Jade. And he's like, wait, what's going on? And then they start blasting. So it's weird to see Haji without his stuff on his head. But anyway, so now the professor and older Johnny are going in there to try to hack the whole situation there. So they're in the computer room hacking away. And he's like, Dad, I don't really feel like I need to belong here. Maybe I should come home with you guys. And he's like, no, son, you need to stay where you're supposed to be. I don't know what that was really alluding to. But anyway, he ends up hacking it and zapping he creates basically a localized EMP on the androids. And they're like, just like that. Except that Professor Zinn shows up. I think he's still, I don't think he's real there. I think he's a hologram too there, but we don't know for sure. That's what I think. I think he's just AI. And that's it so far. But good stuff. Good stuff. A Jonny Quest movie would be great because it appeal to kids. It's kind of like that Kim Possible thing, but I think they can go and Spy Kids. But I think they can go a little bit more adult with it because we have race in there and stuff like that. I don't think it needs to be as kiddish, and this is not really kiddish. So I like it, and so yes, I think it would make a good movie. I don't think you'll like this. I like elements of this story, but I think the going back in time thing doesn't work. But I like the other stuff. And then Moon Knight, yeah, so far so good. I'm liking this in general. So we'll see where it goes, but I think it's pretty good. All right, well, that's it for me. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Remember to give me that like, give me that subscribe. I hope you guys have a good time with your family this week. This is probably my last video and I'm going to be driving to Florida, so I won't be able to do videos. And I don't think anything comes out this week. I'm going to go to the movies with my mom, but I think I'm just going to see Red One over again. All right, well, thanks again. Remember to subscribe. Get some of my videos will come up in your feed. And I will see you guys on the next one. Ring that bell, ding, ding. And remember, too, if you want to jump in on Green Hornet, remember to click the link in the description below. And let me know if you'd like a copy of Lords of LA by posting a question in the comment section. All right. Thanks again, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for enjoying I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway with spending time with me. All right. Bye-bye.